Welcome back. Elon Musk is a man who makes headlines, few bigger than when he announced on Friday that he now wants out of his mega $44 billion deal to buy Twitter and take it private. What happened and why? No better person to answer those questions than my friend Kara Swisher, co-host of Vox Media's Pivot podcast. Kara, welcome back to the show. This feels like the most predictable potential next thing that was going to happen the day he decided to buy it.
Yeah.
So you're probably not surprised. But is he still going to own Twitter anyway?
Well, if a court makes him buy it right now, I mean, I think that's where it's going to go to. It's all a legal proceeding now. And I think it'll be hard for the court to force someone to pay that much money for something. And it's a little unprecedented. And of course, they have Elon Musk, who likes to fight. And so he's going to fight with the Delaware courts. He's going to fight with Twitter. He's going to fight publicly. And so it could be a big mess, and everyone might want to just have him pay the $1 billion breakup fee and go. But it could be a lot higher. He may have to, if Twitter presses it, he may have to pay a lot more for trying to get out of this deal.
And what's it mean for Twitter? I mean, look, this is a public square that certainly there's plenty of political debate that's sparked from it. It matters to a small group of people, but it does matter a lot. What happens to the company? What happens to the product?
Nothing good for Twitter has come out of this sort of Elon Musk is bored routine that's been going on. I mean, obviously he's interested in the company because he likes the product, but a lot of this has become a circus, a ridiculous circus. And so I think it's not good for Twitter. It puts them in a bad position to have to do this lawsuit, especially with someone who doesn't care and attack, sort of attacks them on their own platform, which is kind of ironic in a weird way. They've never had a very strong business, which is one of the reasons someone like Elon Musk or another buyer could do something with it. It's still a large platform, even though it's a small business. It really is. And so for years it's underperformed, whether it's the stock or the revenues and this and that. And so, there was a lot of promise here, of possibility, but nothing good is going to come of this for them. And being in court against someone like that is not good for the business, not good for employee retention, not good for branding, advertisers, so not good.
So if bad for Twitter, good for who? Is this a boom for TikTok, a boon for Instagram? Who?
I guess, it does. They're just watching quietly from the sidelines while this goes on. It can't be good. They weren't much of a competitor to Facebook or TikTok. TikTok's been growing like crazy. Even Snapchat was doing very well until the recent downturn. Everybody's been hit, really hard in the stock sell-off. But they all were doing fine without Twitter, so it's not really going to affect them.
All right. All I know is it's Elon Musk, which means we will all be paying a lot of attention to this drama as it plays out in a Delaware.
Or not. Maybe not now, Chuck.
Maybe not. All right. Fair enough. Kara Swisher, you always make us smarter. Thank you. When we come back, a conservative party dumps its leader after a series of scandals and embarrassments. Why the cases of Boris Johnson and Donald Trump so far have had very different endings. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now to the Republicans. So, Rich, there was a scandal plague, an embarrassing leader of the Conservative Party in the UK, and there was finally the enough is enough moment, and they got rid of Boris. Arguably, Mitch McConnell had a moment where he could have done the same thing the way the UK does, essentially the vote of no confidence. We're dumping our leader. He can never be leader again. This American Conservative Party hasn't done it. Why?
Well, one, it's a different system. Two, the British Tories have an ingrained culture of stabbing their leaders in the back and in the front without compunction. And if decisions were being made in smoke-filled rooms here, the outcome would be differently about Trump. But that's not the way it works in our system. And at the end of the day, the issue is Trump has a significant hold on Republican voters. And critics of Trump, enemies of Trump who want him to go away, just need to constantly remind themselves the people they need to convince, the fence-sitting Republicans, voted for him twice. They like him. They're entertained by him. They're grateful for many things that he did. They hate the media, and they think Trump is often attacked unfairly. So from my perspective, the person who's likely to win over those voters from Trump eventually is someone Trump critics probably hate as well, someone like Ron DeSantis rather than a Liz Cheney.
Hallie, what do you hear?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the Trump-DeSantis factor is a fascinating one here. You talked about that Gavin Newsom ad. You talked about the way that DeSantis has kind of become like and this is, let me think of a way to put it, but like if Donald Trump doesn't run, does Ron DeSantis take that mantle, right? But it's a different system he's got. I mean, Mark and I were talking about, he's got a small circle of people around him. It's not like Donald Trump, where it's this sprawling group of advisors, tons of people who are always talking about his plans, et cetera. I do think that if you look at 2024, I think that Mike Pence is clearly going to run. I do not think, as much as Mike Pence wants to have a hold on the sort of MAGA members of the Republican Party, he does not. I think that that's a question mark. I think evangelical Republicans, he can make the case to. I think that more broad appeal is going to be elusive for him.
Well, let's get to your book, Mr. Leibovich, because in many ways, if you read your book, thank you for your servitude here, you get the explanation for why what happened in the UK isn't yet happening here. And I want to start with this excerpt, because I think it gets at the core of actually the Republicans not understanding what's happened with Trump. If you're a Republican in Washington, this is an outgoing Republican member of Congress said this to you. If you're a Republican in Washington, the idea is basically to make yourself as much of a D-head as possible in order to get attention and impress the biggest D-head of all, the guy sitting in the White House. Finish the anecdote for me, because it's what he... Because it's
not going to finish the D-head.
No, but he would not put his name on this quote. Explain to me what he told you.
Because he said I might have to lobby them one day. Isn't it depressing? I mean, they actually said, isn't it the isn't
They
it
said the
depressing?
isn't it
Yes,
depressing.
the whole
Not
thing.
you.
They made the
Yes.
They made the entire point for me in this book. And look, conversations like this happen again and again in this book. Thank you for your servitude, have to say the title. It is, you see the gap between, one, what Republicans will say publicly and privately play out again and again and again. And look, it's not like there's not a tradition of Republicans pushing back on the leadership of their party in America. I mean, the private view of Republicans towards this president is extremely harsh. It's extremely mocking. And look, politicians are always going to say different things in public and private before different audiences. I've never seen a gap wider than that.
Okay, but JDL, the thing that, Rigby, did this outgoing member of Congress understand the fact that he saw his service in Congress as a bridge to lobbying? Does he not understand that that's why Trump was able to get these
yes, exactly.
get the hold, right? Like, did he understand that part of the joke?
Apparently not. I mean, that literally is the problem. And I mean, I think you're right. Like, Republicans have to figure out what's more important to them. Is it the immediacy to power, or do they care about their legacy? Do they care about what history books are going to write about them? As I say this, I'm like, of course they don't care, because they've shown over and over again it's more important for them to win the next election than to, like, I don't know, maybe stand up for our democracy.
Look, Lindsey Graham told you, I've never been called this much by a president in my life.
Yeah,
I mean, he was addicted.
They're all addicted. Look, I mean, there are any number of psychological reasons why people do certain things, and make decisions like this. I mean, it was funny. Rich and I were in the green room before when Governor Hogan said, "Well, Republicans need to sort of figure out what they need to do," and they're trying to. It's like it's been 7 years. I mean, based on the precedent of recent history, the Republican MO in dealing with Donald Trump is fecklessness. And in doing this book, I learned this over and over and over again. And I don't think the revolution is going to be led by Lindsey Graham or Kevin McCarthy or Mitch McConnell. And look, they've had the chance to do it over and over and over again. If he can survive January 6th, and for a few days it looked like he wasn't, and be where he is today.
This brings me to this. If he runs, will somebody explain to me how he accepts losing?
Yeah, that's
you know the answer to that question.
That's a big conundrum. Look, I think there's probably maybe a 15% chance he doesn't run, but very likely he's in.
Seems like all these people told you was death.
Right.
That was the only answer is death.
There is.
How many times did you get
The only
that?
plan we have, this is another Republican congressman, a former Republican congressman, I said, look, we have no plan for this except sitting around hoping he dies. And again, this book, these conversations, it's all so depressing. Also depressing, but it's also a fun book and it's a great beat. But no, I mean, it's these conversations happen over and over again, and what casts it in such sharp relief, and over the last few months, is you see what's happening in England, you see what's happening on the January 6th Commission. The courage that actually does happen in conservative circles is cast in such sharp relief with the putative leadership of the Republican Party.
It is both a fun read, as you said, and absolutely infuriating. Congratulations. That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember, if it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.